Hello everyone. In case you didn't hear, Square Enix has announced that Final Fantasies 1 through 6, the Pixel Remasters, will be coming to the Switch. So this means that Final Fantasies 1 through 10 and 12 are all going to be on the Nintendo Switch. What's the difference between the Final Fantasy games, and are any of them worth your time? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be tackling those two questions. So I'm going to go through the games chronologically, kind of describe them, and I'm going to put them into two categories. One category is going to be, I think you should play this game, it's really good, it's worth your time, and then the other ones are ones that I personally don't really enjoy, or I just don't think it's worth going back to them. Disclaimer, these are my opinions. I'll also put a Metacritic score so you can see what the other critics think. But yeah, let's dive right in with Final Fantasy 1. Starting all the way back with Final Fantasy 1, this is the game that started it all. It started a franchise, so you know there's got to be something really good here. Otherwise, it wouldn't have saved a company, it wouldn't have started a huge franchise. This was a really good start to the series. This game is vastly different from all of the other games in the series. In this game, you start the game out by choosing a party of 4, and you can choose from these 6 classes. But unlike other games where you can change your class later on, you are stuck in that class for the whole game. And I think this really makes the game unique, and it makes it really exciting. Each playthrough is going to be different because you can choose a different party setup, and then depending on your party setup, it's going to change, how you play the game. If you're a fan of the gameplay aspect of turn-based JRPGs, then you should definitely get this game. However, if you're somebody who plays JRPGs for the storyline, then you're probably not going to enjoy this game because it doesn't really put a big focus on the storyline, it's more about the gameplay. But yeah, for me personally, this game is firmly in It Holds Up today. You can still play it and have fun, even in 2023. The Pixel Remaster on Metacritic, it has an 80, which is pretty good. The user score is 5.9, but this game has been review bombed, as is the case with most games these days. You can see some of the reviews are in foreign languages, and then some of them are just complaining about random things, so you can kind of disregard the user score. Final Fantasy II is a lot different from Final Fantasy I. In this game, you're going to have 3 characters who stay with you throughout the whole game, and then you're going to have a 4th one who is a rotating party member. And then with these characters, they changed the level up system completely in that it's going to give you benefits to whatever you do. If you get hit a lot and your HP is going down, then your HP is going to increase. If you use a lot of physical attacks, your physical attacking power is going to increase. This system, it kind of works and it kind of doesn't. The storyline is okay, it's nothing really amazing. So I would put this in the category of if you've played a lot of the other games, you can play it and it's okay, but I definitely wouldn't start here and I wouldn't go out of my way to play this game. The Metacritic score is a little bit lower, it's only 77, and then the user score is 4.3, but again, this game was also review bombed. Final Fantasy III is a lot like Final Fantasy I, except you can change your class and you unlock more classes as you go through the story. I don't know, for this one, I feel like this one is just really generic. There's not really anything that it does special that's not in any of the other games, so I would say this is another game that, it's not awful, it's a good game, but I wouldn't start here, and I wouldn't play this one until you've played some of the others. This game received a Metacritic score of 79, which is actually in between Final Fantasy 1 and 2. Me personally, I kind of prefer 2 to 3, but again, that's just my opinion. I think 2, it tried some new things, and I really enjoyed that. Whereas 3 is kind of just more like a standard, what you'd kind of think of a Final Fantasy game. And then, of course, the review score, 5.0, it was also review bombed. Also, there's only 7 user reviews, so, it's really slanted. Up next, we have Final Fantasy IV, and Final Fantasy IV is different from the previous games because in this one, there's not class changing and that type of thing. It's just you get set characters, and then those characters will have a class. There's a huge cast of characters, there's a really long storyline, and it's really good. This game, I would probably say it's at least in my top 6, and I don't think this would be a bad game to start with. And it holds up today. Looking at the Metacritic score, it got 83 and a user score of 6.6. So this is the highest one so far in terms of the Metacritic score. Next up, we have Final Fantasy V, and Final Fantasy V is kind of like Final Fantasy III. You start out with some characters, and then as you go through the game, you unlock more classes, and then you can change your classes. And this game is a bit special in that it took a long time for it to be released in America. So this game is kind of like the missing Final Fantasy that a lot of people had never played. And this one, it's good, but I kind of have the same feelings I do about 3, in that it's a really good game, but I wouldn't start here, and I'd wait till you play some of the other games before you play this one. The Metacritic score on it is 82, and the user score is 7.5, which this is the first one that we've seen a really high user score for, but again, like a lot of the other ones were review bombed, so I wouldn't put too much weight on that. Next up, we have Final Fantasy VI, and this game is a lot like 4 in that you're not going to be changing your classes all the time. It's like they give you some characters, and then each character is unique, and then you can choose your party among several different characters. Beyond that, I'm not really sure what I can say without getting downvotes. For me personally, Final Fantasy VI is a game that I've tried to get into several times in my life, and it just doesn't click with me. But that being said, like, there are people who think this is one of the best Final Fantasies and one of the best games ever, but me personally, it never really clicked with me. The Metacritic score for this game is 88, and the user score is 7.7. As I had said before, like, this is a game that a lot of people hold in very high esteem, and it's some people's favorite game. Next up, we have Final Fantasy VII, which this game to me, this is the first game that sucked me into the series. Like, I played Super Nintendo games, but back in the day, I actually preferred, like, Lufia and a few games like that to the Final Fantasy series. But then once 7 came out, it sucked me in. Everything about this game is just amazing. The characters, the gameplay, the storyline, everything is really, really good. However, I will say that the graphics haven't really aged very well, and I don't know, I'm really sad because they need to make like an HD remaster of this game, or even just like a slight upgrade. Yeah, that's what I would like, and that's why I was so sad about the Final Fantasy VII remake, but that's a whole nother story. I could make a whole nother video, probably ranting for an hour about that topic, but I just want to say Final Fantasy VII, amazing. One of my favorite games of all time. The Switch version of this game has an 81, and the user score is 7.6. And then if we dig into the reviews, we can see that this person here is upset about the port, and I actually kind of a little bit agree. Like, I don't think that this is the best port. For me, it crashed a couple times, and that was kind of annoying. And also, as I said, like, I feel like this game should get an HD remaster like 8 and 10 have. Next, we have Final Fantasy VIII, which does have an HD remaster that's on the Switch. This one, I kind of have more conflicted feelings about 8 than I do probably any other game in the series. Like, if you ask me any of the others, do you like it? I quickly say yes or no. Whereas with 8, I don't know. It's really, it's really hard to say because it has a great battle system that is messed up a little bit. It has a really good story that's not really told in the correct way, or a good way. And then they have really good characters, but some of the characters are kind of like on the sidelines and you don't really get to know anything about them at all. So it's like there's so many good things about this game, but it doesn't do any of them perfectly and smoothly. I still think it's a good game. Like, after you played some of the others, you can come to this one, but it's definitely not like a perfect game. Final Fantasy VIII Remastered has a Metacritic score of 80, and then the user score is 7.1. Yeah, I don't know why like all of these games have an 80, but yeah, I would say it's probably somewhere in the middle. And as I was saying with Final Fantasy VII, I was a bit annoyed with the port of 7 because 8, and actually all of the other Final Fantasy games, they're all really good ports except for the Final Fantasy VII one. Of all of these games, the only ones I ever had any problems with was 7. 8, no problems at all. Final Fantasy IX is another one that I'm going to kind of struggle to talk about because I don't want downvotes. This is another one where a lot of people really, really like 9, and then there's other people like me who doesn't really click with us. To me, this game, it's just too safe, and I don't like any of the characters. And I think that's the main thing, is I don't like any of the characters except for Steiner, and Steiner just gets picked on, and people are mean to him the whole game. So, yeah, I don't like that aspect of it. But yeah, again, as I said with the others, like, if you want to, you can try it out, but it's not my recommendation. This game received a Metascore of 76 and a user score of 7.5. And we have Final Fantasy X and X-2, which you can buy together as a set, and these two games are amazing. It's funny because I've always gone back and forth about which is my favorite between 7 or 10 and X-2. And I have to say that now, because I've recently gone back and I've played both of them, I think that probably at the time 7 had more of an impact. However, playing them now, I think 10 and X-2 are more enjoyable because the graphics are perfect, the gameplay is perfect and fast-paced. Everything about 10 and X-2 is really, really good. I would recommend almost anybody to play this game, whether you're a Final Fantasy fan, whether you've never played a Final Fantasy before, this is the one. Also, some people like to hate on Final Fantasy X-2, but me, personally, I loved X-2. Like, yes, the tone is a bit more lighthearted, but the gameplay is still really fun, and yeah, the storyline isn't the best, but I do love how you can make changes, and what you say and do can affect the storyline. It's really good. The Metacritic score for this game is 85, and the user score is 7.5, which I personally think those are way too low. I don't know who these critics are, thinking that they can give Final Fantasy X anything less than a 9. This game should be at least 90. To me, Final Fantasy X and X-2, it was kind of the end of the Final Fantasy series, because after that, they changed to action RPGs. But Final Fantasy XII is also on the Switch, so I guess I'll also put this game in with the rest of them. This game, it kind of plays almost like a MMORPG, where you kind of just have your character run around, and then they'll do stuff, and then you can kind of like input certain things to do. From this game onwards, like, the Final Fantasy games are no longer turn-based, and they all kind of have like weird, either full-on action RPG elements, or they're this kind of like weird hybrid. And yeah, like, I am not a fan of what happened to Final Fantasy after 10, so I would not recommend this game. However, if you're somebody who likes action RPGs and MMORPGs, then this game, it could be right up your alley. The Metacritic score for this game is 85, and the user score is 8.2. So, if you watch this video and you're still not sure which one to start with, I would say, number 1, start with Final Fantasy X and X-2. It's a great game, it looks great, and it holds up really well even today. If you're okay starting with a game that the graphics are not so good, then you could also start with Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII, the graphics aren't so great, but this game has had a huge impact on the gaming world, and it's still a lot of fun. And then the last one I would recommend is Final Fantasy I. It started the series, so of course you can always start with the first game, and I think it's still fun, even in 2023. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time.